So wholesaling is definitely the cornerstone of real estate. Anytime that you can get a deal under contract, a property, a piece of real estate under contract at a massive discount, you are absolutely winning. Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit different with my friend Danny Gould from the Goldline podcast. That's how I met him. I mean, this guy actually is really dedicated to the commercial real estate business. He really focuses on like boutique hotels. But today he's going to be breaking down something called Fund a Fund. He runs a fund and he attracts fund money through education and what he does on his YouTube channel and his podcast. He's also going to break down like accredited investors and how to save money on taxes with real estate, how to basically pay no taxes by owning real estate. And that's why a lot of people get into the real estate business, because they make a lot of money and they need a tax shelter. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We're gonna be talking about general partners and limited partners. And oh yeah, by the way, my name is Brent Bowers. I'm the landman, and I hope you reach out to me. Stay to the end, and we're gonna tell you a couple things, and also reach out to me about your land investing questions. It can help you on your real estate journey. I'll give you the link at the end of the episode. Danny Gould, welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. How you doing today, man?
Doing awesome, bro. I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm excited to have you. Rhino Nation, Danny is the host of the Gold Mine podcast, and he had me on his, and I was intrigued by, what he was doing. He was talking about stuff I've never even heard of. So I thought maybe he should come over to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast and share some of his knowledge. He's an absolute go-giver. I guess, what is working for you in 2025? How are you thriving in 2025 right now?
The last couple of years, I spent the majority of my time as a co-managing partner of a hotel portfolio, and I was working with two other guys, super awesome, smart hoteliers. And so the three of us had been partnered up for the last couple of years. And in November of last year, I spun off. I started my own investment firm, and Gould Capital is essentially a fund of funds, right? So if like anyone who's listening right now knows what that is, it's basically, just for some context here, right? So fund of funds is essentially an investment model where I pool together a bunch of retail capital. So let's say, $500,000, $250,000 checks, pull together, 6, 12, 20 investors, however many. We put together an LLC. It's called a SPV, a special purpose vehicle. And then we invest in commercial real estate deals, whether it be hotels, because that's where my expertise is in. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and you can get really clever with it. You can even invest in things with that PV model. You can invest in other things like, seed round investments and whatnot. So that's what I do. That's what I've been doing. And it's an exciting time, man, to be doing this and kind of putting my love of real estate and combining it with my ability to raise capital.
Yeah, that's intriguing, because when you have the funds and you talk to enough people and you see enough deals, you're just putting funds with deals. So how hard is that? Do you have to talk to accredited investors only? Or are you allowed to advertise like on the radio? Or do you have to have like a relationship build with those people? Or like, how does that work?
Really good question. So as you're probably familiar with Reg B, right? There's 506C and 506B. 506C being for accredited investors only. All of my SPVs so far have been 506C. So all my raises right now are for accredited investors only. Yes. So there's gray area here, right? And gray area is, well, what can you advertise? What can you not advertise? I personally don't think that advertising deals makes a lot of sense. I've actually had a lot of guests on my podcast who raise hundreds of millions of dollars in capital. And usually the cost per lead is a lot higher when you're advertising on a per deal basis versus educational content. When you talk about, the 5 stages of awareness, most accredited investors are completely unaware, problem aware, or solution aware. And if you're advertising deals, you're really advertising only to the people who are product aware, which is the 4th stage of awareness, right? So you're completely missing the top 3 buckets.
Yeah, and think about it, like a accredited investor, they're probably narrow vision focused on their industry, what's making them maybe an accredited investor. And just give you a definition. What is it, 250,000 in assets or something like that? They've created a Reg D or C. I think that also makes them accredited as well. What's like, give us like the layman terms of accredited investor. Like, what is an accredited, I think that's it, right? Investor? Now I'm just second guessing myself. I'll just be quiet. What is it?
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. So, and there's lots of different ways that you can become accredited. The easiest way is via income or net worth qualifications. So if you're a single person, you have to make 200,000 top line, right? So, pre-tax dollars, 200,000. Or if you're married, the household needs to be bringing in $300,000 per year. Or you have to have a net worth of $1 million, excluding your primary residence. So those are the three ways that you can become accredited. There's also, if you have certain licenses, you can become accredited as well. And so you could study for I forget which series license it is. I think if you get any of your series licenses, or there's certain series like 66 or 65 or something like that, I think that you also become accredited. So they're talking about adding ways to become qualified or become accredited via a test, but I'm not sure that that's passed yet.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, cool, man. Well, tell us about some of the deals you're doing, because the hotels intrigued me, the commercial intrigued me. I do regular vacant, raw residential land, and the thing about land, you make a pile of cash, but you don't have any tax advantages. So what I love about what you're doing, if you're the owner of either these hotels or these buildings, you have a massive tax write-off, basically via depreciation or cost segregation, which I'm doing more 1031s on my land these days, but I didn't always do that. And I paid a huge tax to the IRS, AKA my partner. See, I didn't realize I was partnered with the IRS. Everyone is really, but yeah, man, talk to us about what you're up to.
Partner that does nothing for you, but wants half anyways, right?
Yeah, well, I guess I do some things. I don't know what.
Some things, yeah, I know. We don't want to give them take all the credit, right? Or take away all the credit. But yeah, so there's a lot of ways that we could kind of go with this. But, the tax advantages, real estate investing, specifically commercial real estate investing, it's like the X factor for commercial real estate investing, right? So you think about alternative investments in general, right? We'll just kind of loop it all, because commercial real estate, believe it or not, is technically classified as an alternative investment. So real estate syndications, real estate funds, all of these investment vehicles that we're talking about are actually considered alternative. What are they alternative to? Wall Street. So the unspoken advantage, or the X factor for all of these vehicles, depreciation, cost segregation. I don't know if you saw, but the 100% bonus depreciation just got repassed again. Did you see that?
Oh, it's back?
It's back.
What was it, 80% before?
Well, it was a step down. Remember, so Biden came in and they were stepping down year after year. I think this year was the 60% year, if I'm not mistaken, 2025. But now it's back up to 100%.
I don't even understand it. My CPA kind of tells me where we need to be at on the purchases each year. And then we do cost segregations on the buildings. So I don't quite understand how the whole depreciation works. I just know it lowers my tax bill sometimes to zero.
Yeah. It's always nice when that happens, right? So depreciation, and this is the real benefit, right, of investing into, say, like a hotel deal, right? So hotels are actually great for depreciation. So actually, let's take a step back, right? So let me just explain depreciation real quick. So depreciation is, on a commercial real estate building, you're going to depreciate the building over 39 years, right? So not the land. So basically, there's going to be an assessment on how much the structure of the real estate is worth, right? So how much the structure is worth. You're going to then divide that by 39. You get to depreciate that every single year. However, there are things within the building that have a lower lifespan, right? So think about appliances, right? Or think about some plumbing, right? In some of the electricity,
what about carpet?
The wiring.
Carpet.
Yeah, floor. Some of this stuff, it's you'd have to talk to a CPA, an actual accountant. And I do want to say, this is not tax advice, just full disclosure, covering all my bases.
We're just real estate investors. We're not tax advisors, CPAs.
Exactly. All of the things inside the building that have a shorter lifespan than 39 years, which probably fall in that, are going to get then depreciated at an accelerated rate. So they call that like accelerated, depreciation, cost segregation. So there's a study that's done, it's called cost segregation, to pull out all of the things that have a shorter lifespan, and then you accelerate that depreciation by 3, 5, or 7 years. And the IRS has like rules on what can be depreciated at what timeline, right? And so, as you can imagine, all of those things get consolidated or scrunched up, right, into a shorter period of time, right? So then you get to write off that $100,000 over 7 years or 5 years, however long the IRS says, versus 39 years. So the majority of your write-offs happen in the first 3 to 7 years, right? And then after that, it starts to really trail off. This is why commercial real estate also changes hands pretty frequently, because once you get the majority of your write-offs, right, it's kind of like,
Yeah. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like paying a bunch of money in taxes, one of the best ways is to buy. It could be commercial real estate, it could be a house, it could be anything with a building on it, because you can't depreciate land, because land never goes down in value. It really does not. I guess it could go down in value with the market, but it doesn't depreciate. It doesn't go bad. It doesn't wear out like a building or carpet or a refrigerator, things like that. So if you're paying taxes, one of the best ways to give yourself a shelter is to buy real estate, own real estate. It's even better is when you're a full-time real estate, manager. There's a classification for that. If you own
rep status.
What is it?
Rep status. So real estate professional status.
Real estate professional status. I think it's like 40 hours a week or something like that. I don't know how they prove that, but yeah, if you own enough rentals, you could very easily spend 40 hours a week in it. If you don't have an executive assistant running it or property management. I don't use property management. I have a full-time office manager. That is my property manager.
Yeah, but you still qualify for rep status, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I do.
You
Absolutely.
run a real estate, investment firm, right?
Absolutely.
Or flipping firm or land. Yeah, but just to piggyback on top of that, Brent. So yes, direct ownership gives you cost segregate or gives you all those depreciation benefits, but also being a limited partner in these deals gives you depreciation benefits as well. So all of my so in that fund of funds model that I just described, we are an LP, a limited partner in these deals, right? But we are going to get depreciation benefits pro rata based on our equity contribution to the deal. So like, let's just say for ease, right? Like it's $1 million in equity, $1 million in equity, and we bring $500,000 to the table. So we're going to get 50%, right? So 500,000 versus $1 million, 50% of the write-offs they're going to pass through to us, right? So 50% of the depreciation for the LPs are going to pass through to the limited partners.
So what's the difference between a general partner, a GP, and an LP, a limited partner?
So pretty much every investment vehicle that you can think of runs via the same structure, which is the limited partnership structure. So whether you're talking about private equity, venture capital, whether you're talking about hedge funds, whether you're talking about real estate syndications, real estate funds, they all use the limited partnership structure. And the limited partnership structure is simply the general partner and the limited partner, right? So the limited partners are all of the investors into the deal. So they are very commitment, or their responsibility is to wire the money in and collect checks. The limited partner's job is very simple.
That's it. Very limited.
Wire the money, collect checks. Now, granted, there are some LPs that do get asked to sign for debt, but this is very rare, right? So, and generally, like, there are terms and carve-outs and things that are kind of negotiated when the LPs sign for the debt. You might even carve out a little bit of the GP for the LP to sign for the debt. But the general partner, to answer your question, would be the operator, the sponsor of the deal, right? So they're the ones that are doing all of the work. They're putting the deal together, they're finding the deal, negotiating with the broker. They're also managing the asset. Potentially, if they're vertically integrated, are also managing the property, selling the property. They're in charge of executing the business plan.
They're the ones getting it done. The LPs
Correct.
are
They're the ones
the money, the funders. The LPs are the funders, and the GP, the general partners, is the kind of the worker bee, just making sure all the gears are oiled and everyone's paid on time. It's a lot of work, absolutely a lot of work to be that general partner. Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. So if people want to learn more about this kind of stuff, what do you recommend? Just go to the Goldmine podcast, or is there another place you recommend?
Definitely the Goldmine podcast. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Investing Secrets TV. I'm also writing a book right now. So just teaser, I don't know when it's going to come out. I've been writing this thing for like 9 months, and I'm like, I don't even think I'm going to be done before the end of the year, because it really does take a long time. But yes, best place if you want to learn more. I post tons of content to my YouTube channel. You can check out Investing Secrets TV on YouTube, and of course the podcast as well. But also, just to shout someone else out who's really helped me throughout the years, and I think makes a lot of great content around this stuff. Specifically, if you're interested in the general partnership side, if you're interested in like active investment, if you're an LP, I'm not sure how much value you'd get out of this, but if you're interested in becoming a GP, which I'm assuming probably a good portion of your audience, Brent, does.
I think a lot of our listeners are kind of just getting started, or they're already operators. Maybe they're not sitting on 500K or 50K or 100K. They're still at what I call the active investors, active income investors.
So if you're an active investor, for sure, Bridger Pennington, he's phenomenal. And he runs a company called Fund Launch, which I'm sure some people have heard of before. I can't necessarily vouch for his program because I haven't really gone through it, but I can vouch for how impactful his content has been just on increasing my knowledge base.
That's incredible, man. Well, how would you say, or now let's talk to the person that's brand new and you're like, man, this stuff's been over my head. Danny, just tell me how I can make money in the next 90 days in real estate because I want to quit my job or I want to retire my wife or my husband. How does that, hope I didn't just put you in the hot seat too much there. How do we help that person right now?
Well, my background before I did all of this actually is I used to sell real estate. I was in residential sales for 10 years. I had a 35 agent team that I ran here in Silicon Valley. Depending on which market you're in, realtors make a lot of cash, man. The problem is they spend a lot of cash too. But truthfully, being a realtor, you can make a lot of money really quickly. Now, 90 days, not enough time really to get a license, get revved up, and start, doing the thing. You can also try wholesaling is basically like being a realtor, except without a license. I have mixed feelings on wholesaling in general, even though I know this is a wholesaling podcast, right?
It's good to look at all those perspectives because some of these states are making this illegal. So we, I like to take down the property. I like to take down the land or, double close on it. That's a great idea. Like we do have realtors listening to this. If I have my license and I just got it, like, what's the fastest way to make money as a realtor? Is it just pounding the phones and door knocking your farm area? Or is it like, that's what I was learning in 2007.
Open house is the best way to get quick deals. Right, because you think about this, right? Like if you are cold calling, right, you are effectively, like even if you're doing expired listings, if you're cold calling expired listings, if you're brand new, the chances of you convincing a seller who's already been through the ringer once that you're the person it's going to be harder because these people are jaded. You got to really show up and you got to know your stuff. You got to be super prepared, and listing a house takes a lot of expertise and knowledge. You're much better off going to I would do 100 days of open house, man. Like I would literally just sit and find open houses to do, even on the weekdays, because every person that walks in that house has some intent, right? Yes, some of them are looky-loos.
Oh yeah.
But you've got
there
buyers.
For the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, 100%.
You got what?
I
cut you off there. You say you got black bears?
It's so funny, man. I can't tell you how many times I don't do the goodies at open house. I never did, right? And except when I did like wine and cheese open houses for like specific, like that was a marketing tool to like get people in the house. But on the weekends, every once in a while, I'd have someone that walks in and they look so disappointed, and then they'd look at me and say, "No cookies."
That's amazing.
Like, what am I, freaking, Goodwill over here, man? Like, I'm not here to feed you. I'm here to sell you, So,
that's funny.
But yeah, for me, man, I would say
to bake the cookies in the house because it smelled like, the cookies in. But no, I love that. I challenge any realtors listening to this, whether you speak a different language or Spanish or something like that, and you go in all these open houses and do a TikTok video and talk about all the pluses and the minuses of this house, especially if you're Spanish, like in Florida or even California. You should go in there and speak Spanish and talk about all the pluses and the minuses of that house and build your social media presence up, because here's the thing, these people are gonna wanna list with you as well. if you are, sharing, hey, look what this seller did. They actually took the yard and put it all new sod and redid the concrete. And then also, look what the seller did. They left the toilet seat up. Are you kidding me? Like, things like this is bull crap. Like, they didn't bake chocolate chip. No, but just have fun with it. So I would encourage them to take it to the next step and get on social media. It's very powerful, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, just go live.
It's really interesting that you say that, man, because my number one lead gen source for my real estate business towards the end was actually my YouTube channel. I had another YouTube channel that I created specifically for that business, and we were doing 15 to 20 million in volume just from the YouTube channel.
That's absolutely incredible. Yeah, when you say 20 million in volume, so if you sell, that's like 20 houses in Silicon Valley?
It was probably like 12 to 15 houses that we sold.
Hey, from YouTube. I totally agree. Brent Daniels told me probably 5 years ago, start a YouTube channel, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe now at this point. I wish I'd have done it a lot sooner. I wish I'd have did it when he first told me. So Brent Daniels is the owner of Wholesaling Inc. In the podcast and all that, just so you know. Man, this has been great. I appreciate all the gold nuggets. Holy cow. Shout out one more time where people can find you, the YouTube channel or your podcast.
Yeah, so they can find me on YouTube, Investing Secrets TV. That's like television, Investing Secrets TV. Or they can also find me on any podcast channel. That's the Gold Mine Podcast, GOULD.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny, for being on. Guys, Rhino Nation, quick recap, man. Danny talked about fund to fund, which I had never even heard of it put that way. I actually made him repeat himself like 3 times before he hit the record button, and talking about his SPV as a Victor model and accredited investors and what that is, and how he provides educational content to basically fund his fund. And I'm sure probably he gets deals that way as well. So the more you can educate people, I always tell people, you want to raise capital to buy your land deals, well, share every land deal that you do and tell them how you got it, how much you paid for it, where you got the money. Go through that whole entire process live. And at the end of the day, on the 6th video, say, hey guys, if you're looking to do real estate with us, or maybe you're freaking out because your money's in the stock market and you want to secure your money with real estate, then reach out. I'm always looking to do more deals. That's how I have a lot of lenders, and I don't deal with banks or hard money lenders. I used to, but now I deal with regular people, like regular next door neighbor, my pharmacist, my dentist, people like that want to lend me money at decent rates that we secure their funds with real estate. Now, I never touch it. I put it through the title insurance company and we get them lenders title insurance policies, but that's a whole little different than your fund. You got the money's just available to you, which is really cool. That's a quick recap, guys. I don't want to go too long. Definitely reach out, go to wholesalinginc.com/land if you want to schedule a call with me. And until next time, Rhino Nation, God bless.